Hi, everybody. Welcome to Rachel's Reviews. And we're really excited today. We are recapping Fanx that just happened, all the fun stuff of Fanx this year, and particularly talking about the Monty Python panel that I was able to moderate. That was really fun. Monty Python and the Holy Grail, celebrating 50th anniversary. So we talked all about it, and it was really fun panel. And I'm film critic Grace Wagner, and my friend Mark Woodring is here. And Mark, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. That was a fun panel.
It really was. It was like I didn't know what to expect. I was afraid it was just going to be a big uh, quote session, but people had really good questions.
They did. It was a good crowd. That's
Yeah,
half of any fan panel at any event.
yeah,
Is that you get
yeah.
a good crowd, not just a fanny crowd. The ones that
Right.
want to
Yeah,
show up and talk your ear off. So
it's
it
true.
was really nice, and you
Yeah.
did a good
Well,
job keeping us on track.
oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Well, let's talk about FanX in general. Is this something you try to attend every year?
I have attended every year, every single event
Wow.
since the beginning. Um, some years have been better than others. The last few, I've started to get into the moderation portion of the program.
Uh-huh.
Before that, I snuck onto a couple panels as a not moderator. Um, but that's the fun stuff. I like going to panels on stuff
Yeah.
that I enjoy.
Yeah.
And I think everyone should. I think people should remember that there's more to these kind of events than just spending $80 on a Funko and $300 for a photo op with some celebrity who
Right.
doesn't know you from Adam. So um, there's good stuff if you're passionate
Yeah.
about a topic or a specific show or movie or star or whatever. And I
Yeah.
think people need to remember that.
I haven't, the only other con that I've been to is D23 in Anaheim. That's the only other thing like this that I've been to. But it seems like FanX is a pretty impressive con. The, and I feel like it's gotten a little bit less so, but like the quality of the stars that they get and the panels that they have and just the, I don't know, I just feel like it seems really well done.
And generally speaking, I feel that you're correct. I go to quite a few other conventions. I do a lot of the fan expo circuit.
Yeah.
I've done Chicago, Portland, Vancouver, Denver, Dallas. Phoenix Fan Fusion is another great event. That's a larger event, but some smaller events are often fun. I always point out people to if you're in the area, go to check out Colorado Springs Comic Con
Oh
in
yeah, they
August.
have a good one.
It's tiny, but every year, I mean, they're guests. They're not getting the Chris Evanses and whatnot. But like 2 years ago, they had Bruce Campbell and William Shatner
Oh
at the
wow.
same event. And and like a year, maybe 3 years ago, they had like 6 or 7 people from Clerks, including Kevin Smith.
Yeah.
Which every year there's one guest on their list that's like, "Why are you in Colorado Springs?" But no, FanX was a standalone for a really long time, and I think that helped build the reputation it has. We have recently, in the last 2 3 years, expanded. Dan Farr bought three other. He bought the Imaginarium conventions,
Oh, okay.
Tampa, Atlanta, and Indianapolis. And then
Mm.
he also, or Dan Farr Productions now also owns the Wisconsin Comic Con, which has not happened yet since they bought it because they were able to buy it for reasons, and they're
Oh.
trying to work around those reasons now to get it to go. Um, but Atlanta was had tended to be a Walker stalker, so they were trying to convert that over to a more general pop culture. So there is some
Oh.
dilution, there's some personnel integration that needs to happen, and I think even 2 3 years later, I think they're still working that out. But in general, I think you're right. Their guest lists tend to be on par
Yeah.
with other events.
Yeah. Because like I said, the only other one I've been to is D23. And D23 is more of like a PR kind of a thing. Like
It's like
the
Star Wars Celebration,
yeah,
which I've been to one.
making the big announcements and getting
Yep.
in the big hall. And I didn't go this last year when they changed things up quite a bit, I've heard. But the thing about D23 is you just have to have your patience pants on because you will wait in line for literally everything. I mean, to go to the bathroom, everything. You
Yep.
wait in line and you just have to like and it's not the same as like it's a different experience than say waiting in a normal line at Disneyland where those will keep, moving and keep going and keep no, you get there, you sit down and you hopefully will get in if you're lucky, you
Yeah,
know.
there's certain events
It's
that I would like to experience, but I will never spend my money on them because it's
yeah,
just there's too much. They're not fan events, and I always
yeah,
try to even if I'm granted quote unquote media access, even as small as I am,
yeah,
um, or whatnot. I always approach going to these as a fan.
yeah,
Even at FanX this time, I was supposed to moderate the Lord of the Rings panel, and I moderated the Dragon Ball panel with Sean Schimmel and Damian Clark. But I'm still looking at the event as a fan
yeah.
because if you're not and you're doing this kind of stuff, then it's a job, and it's a
Well,
job I'm not getting paid to do. So,
right. And that can be frustrating too about D23 because there's so much cool stuff that you
right,
want to do, but like you can't do because of the lines and because of the like they had a because everything is included in the price technically in the price of your badge at D23 as opposed to like FanX where you have to pay extra for the photo ops and other things like that. Like everything's included, but do
if
you
you can get
actually
it,
if you can yeah, if you can get in, if you can
yeah,
do it. So that's the frustrating thing, but the best part about D23, I mean, the big panels are fun but exhausting. But the best part is they have these like anniversary concert kind of panels where they'll have like 30 years of the Little Mermaid and all the stars will be there and you'll hear all the songs and you'll hear all the and they had at that panel, this was years ago, of course, they had Pat Carroll zooming in and all the people behind the scenes that were the directors, Musker and Clemens there. Like that's really fun. And that's what like tantalizes you and gets you to go,
yeah.
but it is pretty brutal. But anyway, and yeah, FanX, there have been some years where I have gone hardcore all day. Been at the Great Assembly Hall all literally all day, just one after another, after another, after another person,
Yeah.
and that's really fun. I enjoy that.
Because
That
you're not waiting in lines.
no, I'm not waiting in
You're standing
lines.
on concrete,
Yeah.
which is for us
Um,
older gentlemen, that's a pain in the butt.
Yeah. I but this year I just because I just gotten back from TIFF and I was just feeling kind of worn out and I knew I had the movie show on Friday that would take up a lot of that day and I had to review the show at Hale on Saturday. So I just knew I just didn't have that. And so what I decided to do was to just focus on my panels that I was moderating and go I the only other panels that I went to was the panels ahead of my panel,
Right.
which, so, and then just did some shopping. So this year I kept it pretty simple. And that was nice. I liked that.
It is this year. I mean, there are years when there's. I mean, in this and this year at FanX, I could have easily gotten 3 or 4 photo ops and
Yeah.
5 or 6 autographs. I was there for 2 autographs, and I didn't do any photo ops. This is the first time. I think this is the first time in a
Oh,
long time I
really?
haven't done at
Yeah.
least one photo op. But I wound up getting 4 autographs because I had to go over to John Reese Davies' table after the panel because he decided that they didn't need a moderator, so I didn't have to moderate. So
Oh,
I didn't have to moderate. Sorry, like read that as I didn't get to moderate.
right.
Um, but so I wound up in the front row watching the panel, and it was great. They're all 3 of them lovely. Her or him, Miranda and Lawrence, they were all great. Uh, but our mutual friend Craig Price knows uh, John's agent,
Okay.
and so he texted me while I had left that panel and I went and I was standing in Michael Rooker's line. He was one of the autographs I needed to get. And I got a text and he goes, "Hey, X says you need to come over to the table. You're gonna get you. He feels really bad that you didn't get to moderate, so they're gonna hook you up with an autograph and a selfie." And I was like, "Oh, that's great. I'll be over when I can get over." So I went over there, and then Frank Grillo was like right next door,
Oh,
and I
nice.
was like, and his line was nothing, and I was like, "Man, I expected his line to be longer." And I was like, "Well, you know what? Got done with John Rhys Davies. Went next door to Frank Grillo, talked to him for a minute." And I did actually. I misspoke. I said I needed two. I needed three autographs. So I needed Nolan North.
Who's that? I don't know
Was
that.
was the other one, but he was great. I talked to him. We talked.
Who's
I
that?
got
Nolan
Nolan
North.
North. He's a voice actor.
Oh,
Most
okay.
most people will go Uncharted.
Oh,
I
okay.
got him to sign I put it away. The script for season one of Con Man,
Oh.
the web series that Alan Tudyk and Nathan Fillion put together back in the day.
Oh, okay.
He's in that, and we talked about that for 3 or 4 minutes while the line was waiting,
Cool.
about certain things. So yeah, so he's great. He was wonderful. But yeah, but other than that, it was just like Friday, Thursday, day one. I was supposed to open with the Lord of the Rings, and I didn't. So then I just spent the rest of my day in getting a couple autographs, walking around,
Yeah.
uh, you know, doing a little bit of shopping. And then it was the first day, and I was a little tired from my previous 3 weeks have been really busy.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, it's time to go home early. The
Yeah.
Saturday we showed up, had two panels,
Uh-huh.
moderated Dragon Ball, and then we did Monty Python, the Holy Grail, which was fun. And then did a little more shopping, and then went home because old
Uh,
and tired. And then Saturday, came in, uh, you know, did some last minute walking around, picked up some things I probably shouldn't have. Um, Man, one I can't wait to start using. So I'll probably talk about it once I actually use it and really determine how great it is. But and then I with Scott and Sean, we
yeah,
did, or with Adam
A24.
with Adam and Sean, we did um, and Noel the A24 panel.
Yeah, I'm very
We
curious
talked
to hear
about
about that.
A24.
Are you a fan of Rachel's reviews? Do you look forward to Family Movie Night, Female Film Critics panels, or the Talking Disney podcast? If so, please consider supporting the podcast by becoming a Patreon. As a patron, you get to access monthly events such as the watch-alongs and Q&As, where you get to talk to stars and find out the behind the scenes of the movie making industry. And you can pick what I review for Family Movie Night or even become a guest on the podcast. Podcasts and YouTube channels are expensive, and I really, really could use your help. I would so appreciate it. You also get to be a member of the Facebook group where we talk about all the films that we're seeing, and we have so much fun. Go to patreon.com/hallmarkies and select one of the Rachel's fan tiers. That's patreon.com/hallmarkies.
Yeah,
That was a
I
fun
haven't
weekend.
done that many photo ops. I found the whole experience to be like just like weird and awkward and
It's
very
because it's so
expensive.
fast.
It's so fast. Yeah. I much prefer, like you were talking about, like the selfie type. I've done a few
Yeah,
of those.
and those are great. Just if anyone out there hasn't been to a convention before, they've only been to a couple. If you
Yeah.
can do the table, if they will do a selfie at the table,
Yeah.
because normally it's not a selfie. Someone takes your phone and you get an actual photo, and you'll
Because
get
not
three or
only
four
is
of
it
them.
cheaper, it's just more pleasant and
Well, and it is,
it's
but the problem is with people like the
yeah,
A-listers,
sure, sure.
you're gonna wait in line so long that even if they're doing selfies, which they probably won't, it's going to be super fast.
Right.
So the
That makes sense.
closest you can get for a guaranteed interaction is the I have a time to stand in line to go through a photo op. So you can at least say, "Hey,
Yeah.
thanks for coming." Shake your hand, in, out, done.
I've
So
only done it
it's
twice,
yeah.
the photo op,
Mhm.
thing. And it was for Jodie Benson, who because I love The Little Mermaid so much. And it was for Carrie Fisher. And I am very
We did Carrie
glad
Fisher.
that I did that, when I had the
Was it with
chance.
Gary when he was here?
Yes.
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 Carrie and Gary on the big fuzzy blanket on the floor.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Yep.
That was the best photo op ever.
Yep.
Best photo op ever. Carrie Fisher
Um,
was the best.
she was. And it was really funny in that documentary that got released soon after her passing. She talked about going to those cons and letting the
Yeah.
fans give her a lap dance. That's what she called it.
Oh God.
And I was like, oh, that was me.
Shame on
But
you.
yeah. So this year I got approved for 3 panels, which was very fun and exciting. And I did the Wicked panel on Thursday night. I think it was at the same time or around the same time as the Lord of the Rings, because we didn't get as much of a turnout as we still
Lord of
had.
the Rings was first one out of the gate Thursday at
Was
2.
it? Oh
Yes.
no, so then
So
it wasn't
when was
then.
yours?
It wasn't until 6, so I guess not. But I
No.
was just expecting it to be a bigger crowd. It was fine crowd, and I was surprised at how many questions that we got about Wizard of Oz. I wasn't quite, I was expecting it
Yeah.
to be just about Wicked. I was a little nervous because I had never read the book until this week. I read the book, and because when I signed up to do the Wicked panel, and then then they accepted me, and then I read it and I'm like, oh, this is talking about the book. I'm like, oh no. So I finally read the book and I wasn't a huge fan of it. Um, but but we had a lot more just sort of general Wizard of Oz questions, which I wasn't quite expecting. Somebody even asked about my thoughts about our thoughts about the sphere in the Wizard of Oz, and I wasn't expecting to get those kind of questions. It was interesting, but it
Those are
was
great questions for a fan panel. Those
yeah,
are
yeah,
great questions
yeah. Oh yeah,
because it means that you've intrigued them enough that they feel that you're
yeah,
fairly authoritative on
yeah.
said topic, that they're going to
That's
ask you a
true.
weird question like that.
It was great,
Um,
and there was of course lots of people with cosplay. There was a particular young lady in Glinda cosplay that was really good. And then as we were giving the panel, uh this this woman in Alphaba cosplay walked in, and it was kind of like there was like it was just you made like a real impact, like of
mm,
like, oh, Alphaba's here. That was kind of
oh
funny.
no.
Um, but yeah, I was proud of ourselves. I was proud of us for how we handled everything, and the back and forth and the questions and everything like that. Especially a girl got up to ask a question. And she was like, "The Wicked the musical was written as a critique of Bush and the Bush years." And so how do you feel like the movie is critiquing our current administration? I was like, oh, good grief. And I said, well, we have to look back at even the Wizard of Oz, and what do we learn from that? Pay When they try to tell us, pay no attention to the man behind the curtain.
Right.
That you always have to be careful about your leaders.
Yep.
And I thought that was a pretty good answer to our
There you
question.
go. I might not have been. I might have had to search a little longer to find
I
something that
was
wasn't
like,
at
woo,
least a little bit sarcastic
yeah,
on that.
yeah.
But it
So
is
that was
interesting when they give you
interesting.
those questions.
Yeah. But anyway, so then Friday, we had the Monty Python panel, and this was exciting. And I just laughed when I got assigned it because, and I mentioned it in the panel, my brother would quote this incessantly growing up. Like he was the biggest Python fan, and and so I told him, I said, what has happened in the world that I'm the one that's on the panel as a Monty Python expert? I'm like, how did this happen? um, but I think it went really well, and I was again impressed with the quality of the questions and the quality, that's the size of the audience. I just didn't know how many people would come
No, that
to it.
was what they were probably 200,
Yeah,
what a
it
200,
was a good
250 seat
crowd.
room.
Yeah, I
And
just didn't think there would be more people at Monty Python than Wicked. So it was just
it's, well,
interesting how,
we talked about the, timelessness and Monty Python in that panel.
yeah,
And
we
so,
did.
that's kind of a good example because there was a fairly decent spread of ages
Yeah,
in
it's
there. So it
true.
was interesting.
Yeah, it was really fun. Our friend Scott joined us for that. Now we'll dive a little bit more into some of the things we talked about. But yeah, it was a lot of fun to do. And then my final panel was on Goonies, and this was the only one that didn't moderate.
Right.
And it was a bummer because she was really well prepared, but she had all these video clips and the sound wasn't working. So,
Yeah.
that kind of, I think, sort of threw her a little bit, and was a bummer. But it was fun to talk about Goonies. I feel like Goonies is is probably the most of a movie that you remember really different as a kid versus an adult. When you watch it, like when I watch it now as an adult, I watched it this week. I'm just like, wow, this is so different than I remember.
No, I movies like that I don't necessarily watch any differently.
Really?
Some
Like
other
I just
movies,
like the Fratellis are so much meaner than I remember. And like
but they're still cartoon villains. That's
it's
the best
starting
part.
off with like a fake suicide and the jailbreak and
Most people
just
forget that whole sequence exists. Not forget how they might feel about it. Most people forget that that movie opens with a jailbreak.
yeah. It's
So
just kind of funny because even when I read, like I used to love Roald Dahl books growing up as a
yeah,
kid, and then I read them as an adult, and I'm like, these are really dark, and I didn't remember, like, especially almost every female character in Roald Dahl, as opposed except for Miss Honey and a few exceptions, are just like absolute nightmares. They're absolutely horrible, and it's like, what? And I just I feel like as an adult, I'm just more sensitive to like dark themes and harsh themes. And
and with literature, it's different because everything's in your head.
yeah, that's true. That's
Everything's in,
true.
there's no constant grounding. It's like if you watched Willy Wonka with Gene
Yeah,
Wilder, no matter how you watch it, though you can interpret certain things differently, but those visuals never ever change because your head can't change the film.
yeah,
So in
that's
terms
true.
of that, so literature gives you a
Yeah,
little bit more of an evolution of
yeah.
understanding.
Well, so you led the panel for the Dragon Ball Z. You've never seen an episode of the show. Is that
All
correct?
right, let's let the cat out of the bag. So I was out in Vernal a month ago
Uh-huh.
for Phenomicon
Uh-huh.
with my wife, and I got an email that said, "Hey, you've got the Lord of the Rings panel and Dragon Ball." And I immediately emailed back. I was like, "Is that the Lord of the Rings panel?"
Yeah.
And I've never seen Dragon Ball, but whatever. And he goes, "Yeah, that's the Lord of the Rings panel." I'm like, "Okay." He goes, "No one else wanted Dragon Ball either." I'm like, "Okay, I'll take it as the price of admission for Lord of the Rings, right?" So no. So I was like, well, I should probably try to watch a cup, but there's so many flavors
Yeah,
of
that's
Dragon Ball.
true.
So I jumped on YouTube. I watched part of a question and answer from another con with Sean Schemmel, Goku. And
Uh-huh.
I know who Goku is. I mean,
Yeah,
right, I don't live in a vacuum,
right.
but I was like never seen it. So I was just like, well, shit. So I heard the way he talked and I was like, you know what? I said the fans are gonna show up.
Yeah.
They're gonna bail me out. So I came up with like one or two observational, like generally questions.
Uh-huh.
So I get there and I'm waiting, and it was Sean Schemmel and Damian Clark, and Damian Clark did the panel immediately preceding that one. So he was just in that, one of the small, the not ballroom.
Ready.
So
Yeah.
he went behind the curtain, and I went behind the curtain and introduced myself, and we're waiting for Sean. And I told him, I said, I have to tell you. He goes, I'm like, I haven't seen any. He goes, you've never seen any? It's like, no, I can't. There's too many. I said, I haven't. I said, I have
Uh-huh.
some. He goes, don't tell Sean. So, and I said, I have a couple questions. He goes, well, what are they? So I was like, well, I was going to ask, about X. And he goes, okay. He goes, what's another one? And I was going to ask about Y. He goes, yeah, okay, that's cool. He goes, sometimes Sean gets a little upset. I was like, okay. Well, so we went out. So Sean is late. They're told Sean is driving around. Sorry, Sean is being driven around the Salt Palace in the cart,
Uh-huh.
and he's late because they're lost.
Oh
And that's what.
no.
So the room captain is like, he looks at Damon. He goes, do you want to wait? Or do you want to start? And I just looked at him. I go, it's up to you. I said, we can wait. It'll just be a shorter panel. He goes, and he's like, nah, fuck it, let's start. It's like, okay. So we went out. We started without Sean shows up 3-4 minutes in. We interrupt. Yay. And he goes, you started without me? I said, Damien said to. He goes, he would. But uh, so about halfway through the panel, Sean's in the middle of an answer, and Damien looks across at me and he goes, and I was like, okay, you need to go, you need to go. And so Sean finally finishes his answer, and Damien's like, he goes, "Oh, you know what? I gotta go." And Sean's like, "What? You gotta go?" And he goes, "Yeah, dude." He goes, "They think I'm a machine." He goes, "I was here the last hour." He goes, "I haven't even been to the bathroom yet." And so Sean's like, "Are you coming back?" And Damien goes, "No." So we did.
Wow.
So we did the last 20 minutes. It was just Sean, but and it was pretty good. Somebody asked him a question that made him angry.
Uh-oh.
About Dragon Ball Abridged on YouTube, which
Oh,
he had been asked about that before apparently, and the guy was filming him asking the question, and he was not happy about that. Um, and I was just like, you know what? Sometimes the guy asking the question needs to be lectured by the guy answering the question. If you come up and ask, that's not a question for here, but it's too late. Don't ask for the hug or the autograph. It's like, but you know what? You
right.
opened that Pandora's box.
Because those
Yeah,
smaller panels, they don't do all the don't ask
the
this,
rules.
don't ask
Yeah,
this.
and I didn't have time for that. So, but
Yeah.
yeah, so that was. I mean, but otherwise, it went pretty well. He went overtime a little bit because Sean Schemmel can talk.
Yeah.
Um, so and I was warned about that. So, but no, it was good. My ignorance of the subject matter never came up, and
Oh,
it'll
good.
definitely come up now. So all of you,
Only
all
because I know.
any Dragon Ball people out there, pay for my subscription to Funimation
Yeah.
or Crunchyroll, and I will go and I will watch some Dragon Ball for you.
Hey, I'll hear that now.
If
We
you pay
should make
for it,
that
I will
happen.
I will go watch some.
Okay, good. Well, so your A24 panel, so that was Saturday. And that's when I
Yes.
had the Goonies panel. I'm curious about this because your podcast, I forgot to allow you to introduce and explain your podcast. So maybe you can do that here. But you kind of take on sort of artistically ambitious films.
Well,
Uh,
okay, so the Visually Stunning Movie Podcast sounds really pretentious.
because
And
that's not good. Like you're a story person.
yes, so that's a dig on movies that come
Yeah,
out of the gate and tell you how great they look.
right.
Um, it started as an observation in my head when I saw the first trailer for Jupiter Ascending 100 years ago. And the first quote they came out with in the trailer was visually stunning. And the first
Uh-huh.
thought that went through my head was, well, this movie's got to be garbage.
Right.
Because that's what they're leading with.
Yeah.
Not that a movie can't be pretty. There are plenty of pretty
Yeah.
movies out there that have
Sure.
solid stories and great characters and all of that stuff. But if the first thing you're going to tell me is, look how pretty it is, James
Right.
Cameron, then your odds are your movie is not going to be that good.
But I feel like a lot of those A24 films kind of lead with the visually
Well,
stunning or look how quirky we are, look how creative we
I think
are.
they're more they try to be more narratively unique.
Uh-huh.
But then they wind up getting shot in ways that are not necessarily, just beautiful things, because you can look at a film, my God, look at half of the exterior scenes of Gone with the Wind. They're
Right.
just gorgeous.
Right.
Magnificent Seven a couple years, well, a decade and a half ago at this point, I
Mhm.
think. Any cell of that hang on the wall,
Yeah.
just beautiful films. And A24 has tended to they like the narrative quirkiness is there visually stunning.
Mm.
So, and
Yeah,
sometimes that
I can see
works
that.
and sometimes that doesn't.
Hmm.
And then we talked about that. A24 has misses. They're not all
Oh
hits.
yeah.
Um, but generally speaking, we talked about why and they're growing and all of that stuff. It was a really intriguing conversation.
What are some of your favorite A24
Of
films
A24s,
of A24?
somebody asked what is our most underrated A24 movie or movie we think is most underrated and most overrated. And my most underrated, I think, oh, I wish I had my notes over because there's so many that just people just don't appreciate enough. Sorry Baby is one, came out this year.
Yes.
But
I
I
love
was
that
like,
so much. That's my favorite movie this year.
Sean and I disagreed on my most overrated is Under the Skin. I said I do not understand the
Oh,
appeal of that movie at all. And it's got naked Scarlett Johansson in it. I still don't
still don't
understand
understand.
what the appeal of that movie is. So
I haven't seen all of them. There's
no, I
some
have I
new,
know I
some.
I haven't started. They started in. I can't believe they started in 2013, and then I looked at their list, and it is an amazing list.
But I think if I was going to say overrated, even though I don't think it's a bad film, but I would have to say Everything Everywhere All at Once. Again, I don't think it's bad, but it's a little try hard in my opinion. Like when they're getting to the rocks and the other things, it's just like, oh my gosh, like it's too much. And like it was fun and creative in this quirky little film, but like if it hadn't gone on to win Best Picture and be this like, then I might not say that. But it was just a little much for me. But if we're talking about a movie that I outright hated from there, I would say The Whale. I really,
Really?
really disliked that movie.
Well, we didn't talk about The Whale. The one we mentioned about the misses was Sean correctly guessed when I said it's 3 hours of my life I would never get back, and it was Beau is Afraid.
Oh, I haven't seen that one. Yeah,
Scott
I believe
thought
it.
Scott thought the most overrated one was Past Lives,
Oh.
and it's like
I can see that again because it got I liked that it got the Best Picture, and yeah, I could see
from
that
us, yeah. I mean,
because overrated doesn't necessarily mean bad.
no,
Yeah,
no, not at all. And
yeah.
we clarified a lot. We all equivocated a little bit in our picks when we were explaining why we were picking certain ones. It's like this doesn't mean it's bad. This doesn't mean it's good. But
Yeah,
but yeah, it's like for me, it was like Under the Skin. I've never ever understood. I couldn't understand why people like that movie.
yeah.
It just made no sense to me at all.
I was really not a fan of Materialist this year. If we're talking about
I
this
haven't
year,
seen it. I'm gonna probably wind up seeing the screener when they send it.
yeah, it wasn't my favorite.
So,
But yeah, it's an interesting studio. I mean, if I was going to say underrated, that deserve more love, I mean, I I feel like which one would I say underrated? Um, The Farewell. I feel like that got a lot when it came out, but it kind of got forgotten. I do love that little. I love that movie. I had a really strong relationship with my grandma, so it
oh
just
yeah.
like hits the yeah, it
No,
hits the heart.
I'm gonna try to look at the list while we continue talking to determine which one I
Yeah.
actually chose as underrated.
I mean, they were
Uh,
pretty popular, but I did think that particularly Pearl,
oh, the
those
Pearl. Well,
X and Pearl,
yeah,
I
that
thought
that
were
trilogy we mentioned.
really
Like I said, I
good.
thought that one was great.
Yeah, they were
Um,
really.
oh, the Iron Claw was my underrated one.
Oh yeah, that's a good.
So I mean,
Oh,
I said it in everyone. I
devastating,
said if you have not seen
devastating.
the Iron Claw, go home, find it, and watch
Yeah.
it.
Oh, I forgot. My least favorite for sure is was Men. I hated Men
See,
so
okay, so
much.
here. All right, so weirdly, how is that possible? Because Men is, I mean, except for that last bit, which is just like off the rails. The rest of that movie, it's like, oh, this is really well constructed, and I really did enjoy it. Sean and I were both like, I was like, I'll tell people, so I liked Mother, but I can't necessarily tell you. I think I liked Mother, but I can't necessarily tell you why. So it's
when we
uh,
when we were in the screening, I can't remember if you were there, but like everybody around me knew that this was not for me, and I was not enjoying it. And Rich, our friend Rich, just kept looking at me like, "Oh no,
yeah,
it was not." But I love Jessie Buckley; she's
yeah. Jesse
incredible.
Buckley's great.
She's
But
so
just to be clear, I
good.
know Mother's not an A24. I was using that as an
Right.
example of when we talk about some movies that it's weird like that. But now Men was cool. Jesse Buckley is great.
Hmm.
Um,
Oh, and another one I love was Marcel the Shell with Shoes
oh,
on.
who doesn't love Marcel the
I
Shell?
sometimes forget that that's A24, but I love that one.
Yeah, it's impossible not to love Marcel the
That
Shell with
one's
shoes on.
a favorite. We'd like to take a second to thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's author Jen Sterling and her Fun for the Holidays series. I think you all will really, really enjoy this series. It's a ton of fun. What's better than one holiday romance book? How about 12 of them? New York Times bestselling author Jay Sterling presents her Fun for the Holidays series, 12 books with seasonal or holiday-based themes. That's one a month for the entire year. So for instance, for the month of September, you have Falling for the Boss, In October, you have Tricked by My Ex. In November, you have the Thanksgiving Hookup. And in December, Christmas with Saint. So, really fun themed books for each month. Grab all 12 now at prices you won't find anywhere else over on her website, jsterlingbooks.com. And we'll have a link for that in the description. We also have our affiliate link. Definitely want to take a look. That's Fun for the Holidays series by Jen Sterling or Jay Sterling, wherever you purchase your books. That's some of them. All right. Well, I wanted to talk a little bit about what we talked about in our Monty Python panel for this discussion, just because I thought it was really good. And we talked about why Monty Python and the Holy Grail in particular has remained so timeless. And what was kind of your takeaway from that discussion?
We generally talked about that. We came to this. It's because everything is there's nothing in that movie was current. My thing was like they took a myth and then they dropped great comedy on top of it, and absurdist comedy, and so it can age well because it's not tied to anything but a myth.
Yeah.
And so that was one of their strong suits, was never tying their comedy to any conventional or thing.
Yeah, like they could have easily had jokes about some product or some television show or
Yes.
thing like that at the time, and those are the ones that just sort of they last. And like, for instance, even though I enjoy the first Zootopia, a lot of the gags in Zootopia were specific to that moment in time.
Yep.
Like making fun of Frozen and making fun of and I'm not going to let it go and things like that, which is fine, but it's just not going to be as timeless as or Ralph
Right.
Breaks the Internet. That's another example.
Ugh.
Like all the jokes in that were very specific to that time.
Yep.
Yeah. And so it makes it less timeless. And I think that I agree. And it's also just so random in its humor that it kind of catches you off guard, I think, when you're watching it. Like it's not repeating the same joke over and over and over again.
Correct.
Which helps. So do you have a favorite comedic set piece? That's one thing we talked about.
That was one.
Of Holy Grail.
I said my favorite set piece was the last couple was the rabbit.
Yeah.
Because it's like I said, we show up at the rabbit and we determine that the rabbit is in fact a monster, and then we have the holy hand grenade, and then the animated segment that rolls through after that. Those are the bits that are the most coherent together, and feel most like a movie as opposed to a bunch of set or a bunch of skits. And Scott pointed that out. He goes, you can rearrange chunks of the rest of the movie, and it doesn't really matter. But and that's why I think those last 2-3 sequences there are the most coherent, because then they lead you right to the bridge of eternal peril.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's so funny. The Black Knight fight, I think, is my favorite.
It's a classic.
It's just a flesh wound.
It is a classic bit. I don't know. Let's see. Somewhere on one of my shelves. Oh yeah. Let's see. Right there. Those are my Monty Python and the Holy Grail
you have
Funkos.
You
Yes.
have Holy Grail Funkos. That's
Yep.
so funny. And when they ask him, anytime they talk about a shrubbery, I just laugh.
Yeah, but it's Scott
Shrubbery?
there's words
Yeah.
that are just, you can say a word and you understand exactly what shrubbery is one of them. Coconut.
Yeah.
Newt.
Me and Newt.
Boom, you're right there. Oh, she turned me into a newt. I got better.
Well, I learned some interesting things. I'll just share them with my audience here in getting ready. I'd heard when I went to the 50th anniversary re-release, they had this little thing at the beginning, the Fathom event, and John Cleese said it was a miserable experience, cold and wet. It was really hard, and they had a lot of challenges, but one thing that was interesting to me, at least, is that they had a very hard time finding any funding for it. So they turned to rock bands like Pink Floyd, Led Zeppelin, I think they said Jethro Tull, because no studio would fund the film, and the rock star saw it as a good tax write-off because the top rate of UK income tax was as high as 90% at the time. I thought that was really interesting. That
Hey, you
even
get your
there's sort
money
of
where
a
you can get it.
guerrilla element,
Yep.
to the movie, and it
Like I
probably
said,
gave him freedom.
yeah. Well, like I said, I pointed out when they got to Life of Brian, George Harrison wrote a check for that.
Mm-hmm.
They were stuck and they were talking to him and he goes, here's 200,000 pounds, go.
Well,
Yeah.
because if you want to not be afraid of telling a joke or what people are going to think or whatever, who better to have as your funders than rock stars?
Right.
You
Real
know,
rock stars, not these posers that we get
right?
today.
Exactly.
So
Um, so I thought that was interesting. And then Eric Idle, he said, sometimes when you're making good work, you don't have enough money. It's uncomfortable and difficult and muddy, like the Holy Grail. If we'd had the money, we would have had real horses, but we had to get clever. And thank God, because the coconut saved us. And Terry Gilliam said, it's one of those things in retrospect was brilliant.
yeah, that is the happy accident.
Yeah.
So it's
Because you got to make it work.
you got to make it work.
You got to make it work. Which,
And it fit the absurd tone for the rest of the film, so it wasn't out of place. You're like,
mm-hmm.
no, that makes perfect sense. Move along.
Yeah. They also had a hard time shooting in Scotland, and there were castles they wouldn't allow them to film a comedy there. That Monty Python was doing things that were not consistent with the dignity of the fabric of the building,
Yeah,
which is
whatever.
hilarious.
Yes, no, you can't shoot your porn in the U.S. Capitol. It's an affront to the dignity. It's like, I don't know. A lot of people get screwed in the Capitol already. We just want to film it.
Yeah.
But yeah, you make do. What Scott said, they had to make one castle look like 5 or 7 or
Uh-huh.
however many castles it was.
Yeah.
That's just that's kudos to the set design people.
Yeah. So you had said that I guess your wife does not like Monty
Nope.
Python and the Holy Grail.
Nope. Well, she doesn't like Monty Python in
Oh, just
general.
Monty Python in
No,
general.
not even in general, but
Yeah.
specifically not the Holy Grail.
Oh, okay.
And it's what I mean. Python has always been, if it is for you, it is for you, and if it is not for you,
Uh-huh.
nobody can make it for you.
Yeah.
And that's okay. There's
I always
nothing
felt
wrong with
very
that.
lucky because it had been built up to such an extent that because my brother and everybody I knew who had seen it loved it. And but so you get sometimes that can be its worst enemy when so
The
sitting down in
expectations are
college
too
and
high.
yeah, sitting down in college, I'm going to be watching this classic, this masterpiece, because there's other
And
comedic films that are hailed as masterpieces that I'm kind of like
yeah,
I'm not a big fan of The Producers. I don't love that movie, the original.
yeah.
I just feel like it's so shouty that it takes some of the humor for me from it. I don't know, I just didn't think it was that funny. Um, so it can be tricky. And
Yeah.
that's the thing is that like you start watching classic films, you don't have to like all the classics.
No,
And
you do not.
you do not. Uh, in fact, if people don't have some authentic opinions that differ from like, what the AFI or whatever tell you,
Yeah.
then I start to wonder about their authenticity.
I on that note, I had not seen until last year, I think, the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which is this, it's
Yeah,
on the Mount
icon.
Rushmore of horror filmmaking, and it's this and that and the other thing. And I watched it and I was like, I see why it's important. I don't necessarily think it's good-ish. I mean, it's not bad, but I don't,
Yeah,
sure, overrated. I'll say it's overrated.
right,
It doesn't make it bad.
right,
Just makes it overrated. But I
right.
understand its importance because I know what was before it and I know what was after. And we don't have the after
Yeah,
without Texas Chainsaw.
yeah. I
So
kind of feel that way about like even taking away Woody Allen's baggage. I mean, I appreciate Annie Hall for how important it is, and I think I don't think it's a bad movie. I just don't love it. Like if I
I've
was talking
watched
about
precious
great
few Woody Allen
rom-coms,
movies.
it's not my favorite. I get it. I don't know, but I kind of feel similar about that.
Yeah, like I said, I've watched precious few Woody Allen. He's just not a filmmaker that appeals to me.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I don't go out of my way to watch his stuff.
Yeah. So we had, I thought, an interesting discussion. We were talking about, one of the questions was, who in comedy do you think that Monty Python and the Holy Grail in particular influenced? And you could see their influence in. And my answer to that was, one of my answers was The Simpsons. And because you can definitely see, I think the biggest thing that you can see in The Simpsons is the layering of the jokes. Is
Yes.
you'll have like a sign with a joke, and you'll have like a physical comedy joke happening. You'll have a vocal joke, and that is something that you get in Holy Grail, I think, really well.
Yeah, and I remember the sort of was, what wouldn't we have had without the Holy Grail? What
Mm-hmm.
pop culture thing? And I said Airplane. I thought Airplane was closer
Yeah,
spiritually to the Holy Grail,
yeah, I can see that.
because there's so much visual humor going on behind what's going on in front of you.
Yeah,
There's those little flourishes behind that
yeah.
Python loves.
And then the other thing that I said, even though it was happening concurrently, so they were just sort of influencing each other back and forth, I would say, is the Muppets. And
Yeah.
Jim Henson, and that, was for a younger demographic. But
Yeah.
even I just think the style of the comedy is very similar.
Yeah, and in a lot of ways, because it's just the Muppets were probably more timely. Um, they were a lot more conventional, but the construction, I think, yeah,
Yeah.
you can make that argument easily.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah. So the last thing that I was curious to talk about is of the other Python material that you've seen, do you have a favorite outside of Holy Grail?
I think I think I think man, that's tough because I mean, of the big three is Holy Grail, Meaning of Life, and Life of Brian,
Yeah.
and those other two, I think The Life of Brian is probably their best movie. It's the most coherently it's still insanely absurdist, but it's the one that there's a followable through line through that film.
Yeah.
The Meaning of Life is all of its bits on that framework of trying to explain the meaning of life, and they're
I
all
just
great
watched that for
bits,
the first time this year.
and they're all great bits.
And so we did an episode of my blind spot series on it this year. I watched it for the first time because I'm very gags vomit sensitive.
Oh God. Yeah,
So
so
that's why I avoided
you
it.
don't want to see Mr. Crusoe.
I had avoided it. I had avoided it, and rightfully so, because woo,
Yeah.
it was definitely not as strong as Holy Grail. It just
No.
was,
But like I said, but the Holy Grail, I
but
mean, that's the Meaning of Life's the weakest film.
yeah,
But I think Life of Brian is the
yeah,
best, is their most complete film.
yeah. I
If you
do love the Live at the Hollywood Bowl special that
It
they
is, but
did.
it's like a greatest hits, but it's
Yeah, it
great to
is.
watch.
But when they have the soccer game between the Greeks and the German philosophers,
Oh yes.
that is absolutely hilarious. And then they have this skit called the Four Yorkshiremen. I don't know
Oh
if you know
yes.
that, but that's one of my
You'd have
all-time
to go
favorite.
back and watch.
It might be
Uh
my favorite like comedy sketch
yeah,
ever. It's really good.
they redid that on
Oh,
live
they
at the
did.
O2. Um,
They
but that was
did.
after Graham had passed. So they subbed in for Graham because he was one of the four Yorkshiremen.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Corridor.
so
You were
you can
lucky to
feel
have a
the same.
corridor.
Oh, you lucky enough to have a cardboard box.
We were dreaming of a corridor.
Yes.
The
But
best
yeah, no,
was.
the bits are excellent. Probably, I mean, I I love the Argument Clinic. If you've never just Google the Argument Clinic, that is
Yeah.
fantastic. I think we need those.
Mhm.
I think we need those so much.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Live at the Hollywood Bowl, and there's one called "And Now for Something Completely Different." It's another compilation type of the skits.
Oh, it's so
But
good.
yeah,
Well, one last thing. I was surprised that you had expressed your reticence to seeing Spamalot, the musical. That you
Yes.
were like, that didn't sound like a. I was a little surprised by that because I know how big a fan of Evil Dead the musical you are.
Well, here's the thing. Um, Evil Dead is a unique property. Uh,
Because
and
in
well,
Monty,
and
there's
well,
actually a song in Monty Python and the Holy Grail, so it makes it somewhat
the
natural compared to
you
Evil
would,
Dead.
but I had concerns about them changing, and we talked about the spirit
Yeah.
of that. But Evil Dead, look, the first time I saw Evil Dead the musical was almost an accident. I didn't know it existed until I went to a literary conference in Vegas for 3 or 4 days. And I was like, well, me and the girl that was down there that was in my class up here at Weber, she was down there. It's like, okay, we need to find something to do in the evenings.
Oh
And I
wow.
was looking at things and I was like, Evil Dead, the what? And then, you had me at Splash Zone, or Splatter Zone.
Yeah.
Um, and so I was like, oh, we're going. And she's like, I was like, we're going. So I bought the tickets and made her go. And so the next day she goes, okay, she goes, I get to pick the show tonight. So we went to the discount and she made me sit through Rock of Ages,
Oh wow.
which I actually, I hadn't seen. The movie had been out by that time with Tom
Uh-huh.
Cruise and I hadn't watched it because no. But the stage production was good. And we wound up paying for like the cheapest seats possible. And getting moved to the front row. So we watched it from the front row
Oh wow.
because we were coming in trying to find our seats, and the little usher came. It's like, yeah, we're just trying to find our seats, and I think we're all the way against that wall.
Yeah.
And she goes, hold on, let me check. And she runs off, and then she comes back. She goes, okay, come with me. She walked us all the way down. Technically, we were in row 2, but they were curved, so we were on the end, so there was nobody in front of us.
Yeah.
So we watched from the rock star zone.
What's
Uh,
interesting is that, so I mentioned it, is that Young Frankenstein is one of the funniest movies that I've ever seen.
to ever
I
exist.
I absolutely love that movie. And when they translated that to a Broadway musical, because it was done by Mel, the like it is practically shot for shot, and it is brutal as a musical. Like, and
Really.
it is incredibly accurate. Like they don't cut anything. I mean,
See, you can,
and it is a
that's my concern with
slog
Spamalot.
to
That
get
was my
through.
concern with Spamalot. Does Spamalot, did they film it?
I don't know if there's a pro shot for Spamalot. I'm not sure, but next time anyone's doing it, I'll let you know. But
Please do. There's the
yeah.
trailer. Spamalot full YouTube. Oh wow.
Oh, there's probably
Broadway
some
production.
slime. They call slime to is when people, recording it.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Young Frankenstein, I saw that the Ziegfeld did it a couple of years ago, and it was painful. And it was just a like, oh, okay.
Oh my God.
You have to make your
You know
own
what?
story.
I would like to abridge my answer. I watched Spamalot at the Ziegfeld.
You did?
I did.
Okay.
I made my wife go.
Yeah.
I believe I took our
Yeah.
child.
It didn't make much of an impact, huh?
Maybe not. That might
Maybe
be
not.
part of the reason I said no. As soon as you said
Yeah.
Ziegfeld, I'm like, oh my God.
And I mean, it was nothing. The production of Young Frankenstein was really good, excellent actually, but it just did not work. And so you got to bring your own artistry, and that is something that Evil Dead does. The musical does brilliantly. Is that it's its
Yes.
own work of art, it's its own thing, and Spamalot is not that on that level. But it was enough of a critique of musicals and Broadway that
Right.
it did have its own voice and wasn't just a shot for shot recreation of the movie with songs, because that movie is already really long, and and so you add songs. It's
Yeah.
brutal. Anyway, so I think that's interesting to see how the same material works in different mediums. But yeah, it was fun to talk about Monty Python and the Holy Grail. I hope I did my brother proud. Oh, he would have liked it.
You did great. You did great.
So
we'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies merch store.
Are you looking for that perfect gift for the postable, hardy, or Hallmarky in your life?
What about getting that t-shirt or hoodie that will help you stand out at your next holiday party?
Now is the time to check out the Hallmarkies merch store.
Full of festive designs by artists like Jessica Miller, Carrie from Hallmark Comics, and more.
You can even have more than just shirts, but totes, cell phone cases, notebooks, mugs, and more.
And it isn't just Hallmark. We have designs for Anna Green Gables, Man from Snowy River, The Nanny, and more.
Every purchase at the merch store goes to help support the podcast and allows us to make the great content you know and love.
There are frequent sales, so go to tpublic.com/stores/hallmarkies or see the link in the description.
That's tpublic.com/stores/hallmarkies.
Let us know what you think. If you got to go to FanX, if you got to be part of any panels, it was fun to have some people, particularly some, because I've been subbing in at the movie show. The last month, there were some movie show listeners who came to my panels, which was super, super nice. So that was
jealous.
fun.
I told Andy I could sub in if he needs help.
So if you got to be a part of any panels, then let us know and what you think of FanX or your local con. We'd love to hear in the comments. And Mark, where can people find you? What's your podcast?
The Visually Stunning Movie Podcast is wherever you get your podcast. Just search for Visually Stunning Movie Podcast. We will be there. You can go to the website vsmoviepodcast.com, and that has a bunch of our written reviews of films. But yeah, all the audio is just wherever you listen. I don't care if you're an Apple Store person, if you're a Spotify guy or an iHeart. I don't care. We're there. We're there.
And I'll have the link down to that. I'll have a link down to that in the description, so you can all check it out. And I also have a link to the discussion we had over on Stage Blog on Evil Dead, the musical with Mark. So you want to check that out. And you can find me at Rachel's Reviews, all over social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. So check that out. Also, check me out at Hallmarkies Podcast. Got lots of fun stuff over there and at On Stage Blog. I'm all over the place. Look, and if you are listening on iTunes, please leave your ratings and reviews. That really helps a lot for both of our podcasts. We really appreciate it. And if you are watching on YouTube, please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. We really, really, really appreciate that. And I have the Patreon group, which is the biggest way you can support everything I'm doing. You get to be part of watch-alongs and Q&As with talent, and our Facebook group and bonus episodes. Really try to make it worth your while. So check that out. And I have the merch store where I have lots of fun movie-inspired merch. Check that out. #Animation Junkie shirts there. So take a look at that. And thanks so much, everybody. We'll talk to you later. Bye.
Bye, guys.